This is the program that shows you the side of police chase videos they didn't want you to see. Bungled arrests, kamikaze crooks, and cop-based carnage of all kinds. Welcome to Cops Uncut, the real car crash TV.
On my way.
Coming up in Cops Uncut, blundering bobbies let this stolen hot rod slip through their dragnet. We get a lesson on how to spice things up with pepper spray. And this drunk driver has a close encounter with the back end of a truck. And now, to Utah for a classic example of how not to catch a thief. For starters, when you pull over a stolen vehicle, try not to just sit there and watch as he casually turns round and hightails it in the opposite direction. Also, it's quite useful to have some driving skills of your own. If you can't manage a simple U-turn, then maybe it's time to consider that desk job. The stolen Mustang's just a speck on the horizon. The sluggish cops eventually catch up, but the suspect has gone to ground, hiding away somewhere in this sleepy-looking housing estate. Backup arrives and the Utah troopers assess the situation. The car thief seems to be hiding in a cul-de-sac, the perfect opportunity to set up a roadblock. There's only one way in or out of here, and the officers have just closed it off. The trap's set. Now it's time to wait for the suspect to stop hiding like a girl. Tension mounts. To pass the time, the cops stand around and occasionally point at things. Then, from nowhere, the stolen Mustang reappears and heads straight for the roadblock. The car thief makes the cops look like amateurs again. We can see that there are several fairly obvious Mustang-shaped holes in the Rosa's dragnet. Here, here, and here. After another fine display of vehicle maneuvering from the police drivers, the pursuit is eventually back on. If he'd floored it, the Mustang guy would be in the mountains by now. Instead, for some unfathomable reason, he ditches his very fast wheels in favor of running away on foot. Now he's slow and vulnerable to even the worst police drivers, who will happily plow through just about anything in their path to get their target. Cruisers close in and the cops unleash their secret weapon, this enormous man. A canine unit isn't far behind, and the fugitive is eventually taken down by dogs. He made the police look completely incompetent again and again, but this crook forgot that in police chase videos it ain't over till the fat man runs. Being a traffic cop is, some would say, the perfect job. You're your own boss. You get to travel, and it's a great way to meet interesting people. Like the woman in the blue car here, for example, being pulled over for a driving violation. She could be anyone, a blonde bombshell perhaps, or a sexy secretary. But she isn't.
Let me see your license, please, and insurance.
I sure do.
Let me see it.
You don't talk back to me.
Hey.
You don't talk back.
The mismatched couple don't particularly get off on the right foot.
Your insurance, please, ma'am.
Go away.
Their relationship quickly deteriorates.
Do not touch me, please.
Eventually, the officer has to resort to another kind of pickup routine. Little does he know that his suspect was, in fact, last year's winner of Utah's smallest, loudest granny competition.
Bob, could you step on it, please?
And by bundling her in the back of his squad car, he only seems to have amplified the situation further.
I need a backup, please. Hi.
Backup arrives, but the woman just carries on screaming. All the police can do is stand around and pray that she'll eventually run out of steam.
Will you settle down?
From the sound of it, they could be here for quite some time.
Hi, I got somebody coming.
It didn't take long for this encounter to get physical.
Hey.
You don't talk back to me.
And when the woman gets carried away, she chooses to completely ignore her right to remain silent.
260 at the corner. On my way.
Coming up on Cops Uncut, we meet the dog-eared survivor of this horrific highway collision. And it's rammer time for the Montana Mountain Police. But first, it's time for the ultimate crime fighter's classroom in a can. Police Academy Lesson 42, Pepper Spray. You're an Oklahoma City cop. It's 5 minutes before the end of your shift and you've just spotted a possible public disturbance. There's no need to ask what's wrong. Save yourself a lot of bother by simply wading right in with the pepper spray. Try to make sure you deploy your spray directly into the eyes again and again until the suspect is completely blind. No point in half measures. Remember, you want to get home in time for dinner, so don't stop spraying until the suspect's face is completely dripping with mace. With eyes burning in agony, even the most threatening troublemaker should be putty in your hands. Remember, it's much easier to take down and cuff a blind person. It's a success. Thanks to Sergeant Pepper, the man is disorientated, confused, and seasoned to taste. Now it's time for Oklahoma's brave boys in beige to work him over downtown and find out if he's actually done anything wrong. So for perfect pepper action every time, ask no questions. The pepper does all the talking. Don't stop squirting until your can is completely empty. And remember, guilty until proven innocent. Or is it the other way round? Class dismissed. No, this isn't a bombing raid on Baghdad. It's actually a quiet Florida seaside town. And instead of the international war on terror, we're about to witness Merritt Island Police Department's war against stupidity.
Running toward the west side of the center of the restaurant.
This guy probably hasn't done much more than steal a couple of Florida oranges, but the local cops have set the full works on him, including a helicopter with an infrared camera and searchlight.
Stuck it down into the patio.
But the hopeless fugitive probably couldn't outrun a glacier. If he'd gone this way, or even this way, he might have made it. Instead, he's picked the worst escape route possible: the pier. It's not until he gets right to the end of the jetty that he realizes there's only one way to go.
We're gonna line him up real good for you if you can get a look at him, if that'll help.
He's into the dock at this time. Cocoa Beach is requesting canine assistance.
He appears to bite the bullet and head over the ledge.
Get on that east side for me.
On my way.
He's all the way at the end of the pier, all the way at the far inside of the pier. He's climbed up under the dock.
But apparently scared of getting wet, the suspect tries to put off the inevitable by climbing under the pier and clinging onto one of the supports.
We're lighting him up now. He's went underneath the piers. One of y'all stay on the beach.
The chopper swoops in for a close-up, but the criminal just shuts his eyes and holds on tight. Perhaps he's hoping that if he can't see them, the cops will just go away. But they don't. So while the copter is busy circling for a better shot, the runaway finally drops into the ocean here.
You might want to get a boat or something out here. I think he just slipped down in the water. North of the dock is probably about.
Maybe re-energized by the cold water, the guy makes an inspired bid for freedom. But his burst of energy soon evaporates and he ends up just floating around like a great big pillock.
North there, a little bit toward inside the beach area.
The tide washes him even closer to shore, and as soon as the cops realize that the water's only waist deep, they wade in to make their arrest.
He's running down on the dock, I think, yeah.
Taking off again.
Being tailed by a cop car often brings out the worst in people's driving skills. But the fact that this guy in front is clearly way over the limit doesn't particularly help matters either. As he swerves randomly from one side to the other, the police keep their distance in case he does something really stupid, like drive into the back of a lorry. Booze or no booze, if this guy can't see something this big, then he really should have gone to Specsavers. The truck, meanwhile, doesn't even feel a bump and just keeps on trucking. And now that the sozzled suspect has reduced his car to a smoking wreck, it's safe for the cops to move in and arrest him. But there's an obvious lesson to be learned from all this. If there's something large in your way, like a lorry, it's not a good idea to try driving through it. In the world of American police chase videos, danger can come from just about every angle. Oh dear, let's have a look at that again. The tow truck here has come to pick up this wreck here after an earlier accident on the icy roads. This time, keep an eye out for Fido here on the back of his master's truck. It seems impossible that the poor thing could have survived such a horrific crash, but miraculously everyone's unhurt, including the truck driver's four-legged friend. But the animal isn't sticking around. He's off to start a new life for himself, somewhere where there are fewer tow trucks and a more effective road gritting program.
Taking off again.
Meanwhile, over in Tennessee, troopers have stopped the people in this car on suspicion of serious criminal activity. Their green station wagon matches descriptions of a car that's been seen with cash suspiciously flying out of its windows.
Down on your knees, female passenger.
And the police believe that these people may have committed an armed robbery.
Interlock your fingers behind your back. Other passenger, down on your knees.
These guys might look like a regular American family, but the cops aren't taking any chances. The police are edgy and they approach their suspects with guns aimed and at the ready. What they don't realize is that there's one more passenger still in the car. And here he comes.
I saw you behind me and I was sitting in it. I saw you behind me and I was sitting in it.
Needless to say, the dog didn't survive. The suspects are distraught, but the cops remain firm, guns trained on the petrified travelers.
Oh my God, man! You shot my dog dead, bro. I ain't wrong nothing. Can you help the dog, man? Can you please help the dog? Dog's done dead. I'm sorry, sir. Who is fucking head off his finger? It's a shotgun, sir. Robbery. Ain't no robbery, man. Don't go crazy. Simple. Ain't no robbery.
On further investigation, it turns out there hasn't even been a robbery. The cops have got their wires crossed and these people are innocent of any crime.
I'm gonna say a prayer to Jesus. Don't kill my dog, bro. Y'all ain't right. Y'all need to calm down. Y'all are gung-ho. Y'all are going crazy.
The police realize they've made a colossal cock-up and try to make amends by offering the family a bin bag.
Give me the bag. I'll wrap my dog up. I don't do nothing else to him. You've done enough. And I want everybody's name. I want to see everybody's name. I don't want to see no Eric Hall.
But it's too little, too late, and the sheepish troopers let the grieving family on their way.
I thought it was supposed to be a robbery. Well, but wanted for a robbery. That's what he put out one. I wish I never thought that fucking caught him out.
In a report filed later, the trooper involved in the shooting claimed that the dog singled him out for attack. But does this look like a vicious beast on the rampage, or a cute tail-wagging puppy looking for a pat on the head? Either way, the officer was cleared of any offence, while this poor innocent family had to take their favourite pet home in a doggy bag. Coming up later, school's definitely out for this bare-chested bully. And this Montana mountain chase ends with a bang. Police Academy, Lesson 24, Tasers. The taser is a high-voltage weapon that police often use to subdue particularly difficult subjects. The extremely big, extremely drunk person in the middle of this road, for instance, is just the sort of public nuisance that calls for a spot of electric shock therapy. First, though, the Texas police try sending in a colossus of their own. Unfortunately, this only seems to make matters worse. The cops have made the drunken Hulk angry, and they're not going to like him when he's angry. Aggravating this man mountain only seems to encourage him to take his clothes off. Now, stripped to the waist, the boozed-up behemoth bends over and presents a very clear message to the attending officers. This unsightly display is the last straw for the police, and the request finally goes out to call in the taser cop. Within minutes, another officer arrives with the electrifying device in hand and wastes no time zapping the troublemaker in the back. Somewhere in the region of 50,000 volts surge through the man's body. He collapses to the floor in convulsions, roaring like a wounded bear. Down but not out, the suspect is amazingly still up for a fight, and it takes several further blasts of taser power before the situation is finally under control. So remember, when you're faced with an unpredictable foe, and all diplomacy seems to have broken down, then it's definitely time to administer the short, sharp shock treatment. Class dismissed. A cop has many weapons at his disposal, including the one he's driving. In Cincinnati, for example, these two police cruisers weave through the traffic on their way to a local high school, where reports have been coming in of an undisclosed altercation involving gang members. The officers quickly assess the situation and decide that their target must be this man seen running away here. One of the cruisers immediately pulls over to intercept, but the other car hoons off in completely the wrong direction. Suddenly, the driver pulls a U-turn and heads back into the action. At first, it looks as if the plan is to cut off the fleeing man's escape route, but this cruiser just isn't slowing down. In hindsight, it looks almost as if this cop intentionally overshoots his mark to get a better run-up at his target. And it's clear his weapon of choice is his motor. Later, a crowd of kids start to gather at the scene, but another cruiser arrives and disperses the group by driving at them. Understandably, the kids at this point are a little wary of police cars. Off camera, the suspect is well and truly down and out. The cop, playing up his war wounds here, looks like he might be trying for the sympathy vote. But whatever his injuries, you can bet they're a lot less painful than this guy's.
260 at the corner. On my way.
After chasing a suspected felon through the Montana mountain roads for hours, this police driver decides it's finally time to ram his point home. In your average police chase video, a sharp shove up the behind like this would probably be the end of the story, but this is Cops Uncut, and the outlaw in this car hasn't even warmed up yet. Using his vehicle as a shield, the offender begins unloading a pistol at his pursuers. Suddenly, the cops have a full-scale shootout on their hands. As the air fills with gunsmoke, another squad car joins in the action. His viewpoint seen here, top right. As the smoke obscures our view, we switch to the second car's camera. Here we see trooper number 2 steam in with his shotgun to help the officer under fire. The pair let rip in the general direction of the criminal, but eventually they realize they're shooting into thin air. Under cover of the smoke, the fugitive has got back in his car and driven off, leaving the cops to choke on his exhaust. But this chase isn't over yet. Further down the road, yet another team of busybobbies prepares a classic police trap, the Stinger. The Montana mountain man drives straight over the spikes, instantly blowing out his tires. And not far behind, the pursuing cop aims his cruiser squarely at the suspect's vehicle and puts the pedal to the metal. In slow motion, we can see why there's no hesitation. The criminal has his door open and is firing directly at the cops. Another officer arrives at the scene and surveys the carnage. Switching viewpoints again, we can see that the second ramming has done its job. The suspect is on the ground and neutralized. Neither he nor his car will be going anywhere in a hurry. This first cop has the right idea. Ramming is definitely the way forward. But this trigger-happy crook is packing heat. And it takes a second sudden impact to relieve him of his weapon and end the chase once and for all.
Taking off again.
So what have we learnt about law enforcement on Cops Uncut? Well, in the world of police chase videos, the dog is an endangered species. That ramming is a good way to make an impression, unless the vehicle in question is 10 times your size. And when you can't carry your suspect away, fill his face with mace, or zap him with 50,000 volts. Be careful out there.